Hi, Roberto. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Victor. How are you?
Very
Hello,
good,
everybody.
very good. I'm very interested how you feel after this long journey that I think was worthwhile because it was an historical event. So you were mentioning when you were off camera that you haven't slept a lot, but you seem pretty fresh.
Yeah, what happened was I was supposed to leave Saturday in the morning to go there, and something happened here because I have a company. I have a construction company here. So one of the sheds where I keep my tools. We had a very windy night. I live in Northeast United States in Connecticut, so the wind here is brutal. So I had to leave late because I was fixing that. So because I know there's a snowstorm coming. So on my way to DC, no, I have to go through. I got to go south, New York, New Jersey, now Maryland. By the time I got to New Jersey border to Maryland, I got hit by the storm. So I had to pull on the side. On a distance of probably 3, 4 miles, I saw 8 accidents right in front of me. So the road I stopped, so I had to wait. So I ended up getting there around 11:30 in DC, which is about usually for 4 hours drive, but it took me 8 hours to get there. And so I got there. It was midnight and stuff, and I couldn't find a hotel. I had to stay at a friend's house. I ended up staying late talking, and I was up very early because we were trying to make it to the event, which is pretty hard because the DC was all enclosed, the center of DC. So it
Yeah.
took us about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours, just to get to the Capitol
Wow.
Hill. It was crazy, but it was worth it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Very cold, but beautiful, man.
Yeah. So I'm very curious to hear how was your experience, what you felt when you were there. I think there's nothing better than hearing directly from a person who was there on the ground, because I don't really trust the news in general. Even Fox News, I wouldn't be that much confident of what they share these days. So tell me your first-hand experience.
It was beautiful. It was pretty different from anything else. I've been to Washington several times, a beautiful city. I've never been there in the winter. It's the first time I go there in the winter. I passed by in the winter, but never been in. But despite of having Celsius was probably it started the morning at -8. It got in the afternoon with the wind blowing was about 20, 22 below. And but the spirits were high. There was a lot of people there in the center of. There's a lot of uh, presence of army, Secret Service, SWAT teams, like everywhere. Like the center of downtown Washington was just locked. It couldn't do anything there. The fences they put up on the perimeter of Capitol Hill, but everybody's so. There was a sense of relief of people.
Mhm.
Everybody's so happy. We saw kids, we saw grandmas, we saw people from I talked to people from China. There was people from Australia that came over for this. People from all over the states. Usually I wear a cowboy hat. You know that. So, and I
Yeah.
saw a lot of cowboys coming from out west. There's a lot of Brazilian people there too. A lot of them. And anywhere you name it, I saw plates there from Utah, Arizona, California, Florida, here, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, you name it. We saw. I didn't have a chance to talk, to this guy. He was coming from Utah. Imagine that he come from Utah or California, have to cross the country just to come here for the event. And these are not Utah, but California. It's a Democrat state. So
Yeah.
and these people just crossed over to show their support for President Trump, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I saw some stuff. You're right, because some media here was showing protest against Trump, and it was funny because they said was early afternoon by the Lincoln Memorial, and I was passing by. There was nobody there. There was no protest. There's nothing there. Lincoln Memorial was just there's a few tourists going there. It was very cold, so there's nobody there. And because to go to Capitol Hill, you have to come around routes 295, I believe. So you come around, you gotta pass by Potomac River, and you're gonna see the Lincoln Memorial. You're gonna see George Washington Memorial. You're gonna see the Veterans Memorial too on the left hand side as you go to the Capitol. There's nobody there. You're gonna see Martin Luther King Memorial too there, and there's nobody there. So I come home, and this morning I was, there's a lot of people showing. There's a lot of protests there. No, you see once in a while there's some people, there's some trucks going around. with those LED signs saying, "Oh, we're pro-abortion," all that stuff. Trump's gonna, take your freedoms. I saw a couple of people protesting there too for the same thing, but like almost nothing. Most of people there from all colors, man. You see like Asian, Latin. You see the black people from there's a lot of Indian people. I was surprised. There's a lot of Chinese people there too, born here. I mean, the Chinese community, I know Asian community is there. It was just a big party, big ball. I loved it.
Hmm. So you already anticipated what would be my next question. And in terms of crowd, you said it was very much diverse, and it's no wonder because Trump and the last rally dancing with the village people, which is quite remarkable. As someone was saying on the internet, I think it was Jonathan Pye was mentioning that he has done more for the gay community just by dancing YMCA than all the diversity programs, which
Right,
is remarkable.
right. It is funny because on my channel on Instagram, I have a guy that always comes to me, to stay there with us, and it's part of LGBT community in Brazil and stuff. And we always talk about that. I interview people here in the U.S. too. It's weird because the left, the Democrats, they're always trying to kind of built a stereotype, like if you're black you have to vote Democrat, if you're gay you have to vote Democrat. There's nothing like that. I mean, people, and I'm glad that these people are waking up and see that they never done anything to them, but use them as propaganda, and people are waking up to that. And what I saw there was this. I saw one person with the rainbow, flag there, and with the Trump flag next to it. So it was good to see. I actually waved at the guy, so everybody was happy about that. If you go to it's the same thing as here, Brazil, anywhere you are, I guess. When you go to a Trump rally, and it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, whatever, you go there, if you're gay, you're straight, they're gonna treat you the same. Nobody's gonna expel you from our demonstrations. And I saw that in DC. That was a beautiful thing.
Was it the first time that you attended a Trump event, or have you been in rally when we was in
No, that
the
was the first time.
campaign?
It was the first time.
First time,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'll be curious if the energy level is different, because I know the optimism was there, but probably now it switched to a sense of relief. Is it something that we can also perceive, say, on a day-to-day life, that finally we change chapter?
Well, everybody here in US, I can speak for US, and I can speak a little bit for Brazil too. As I have a big community there that follows us on Instagram and YouTube. That this sense of relief and hope, it's enormous here. You can tell, even during the campaign. A lot of Democrats switch over to the other side because it comes down to. I always say that it always comes down to math.
Hmm.
If we can't add things up, and 2 + 2 is not going to equals 5, no matter what, how much the left wants us to believe that. And so when everything hurts, in your pocket, when you pay more for everything, people get, says, well, this is wrong, maybe voted wrong or something. Now even people there, voted for Harris are, they're hopeful that this is going to bring at least a better sense, a better sense in general to the U.S. policy and for our economy. So yes, there's a great sense of relief and hope here, and hopefully we're going to heal this thing. I saw another nice thing that I saw there. I was at main entrance of Capitol Hill when I got there. You see, I saw I was going to go live, and there was this guy, religious guy, a Mormon guy, and another guy. I think it was Presbyterian or something. And I was next to them. The Mormon, was holding a sign saying, "Well, we voted for a rapist. You shouldn't have done that." And the preacher came to him, and they both was just talking, no yelling. They just talking. It was like, brother, I don't think that's right, but you have your right to come here and protest wherever you want. And the other guy was trying to, but civil. There was no yelling, nothing. So I that was nice. That was nice to see, because usually when you have a clash between people that with different beliefs, we have a problem. You
Yeah.
know that. I don't know, where you are, but here in Brazil, there's always a problem with that. and usually it comes more from the left because they do not accept. You can try. I'm sorry, I say that some people from the left might be watching us, but by experience, and believe me, I try to talk a lot of stuff with the left side. They even when you prove them, it's math. Like I said, it's math. You can't. This is fact, and they try to push this aside and come up with another argument and another argument and another one, and push that so far behind what about what we're talking about initially. It bears that there, and that's the sense. And I didn't see that in DC, at least where I was, and so it was nice to see. I hope we can come to a common ground, and people, by the new leadership we have here now, they're gonna see the results. And they're gonna change their mind, and all this division that we have in the US is gonna go away. It's gonna take some time, but it's gonna go away.
So are you optimistic?
Hmm. Yes, I am, because like I said, if the economy gets better, and believe me, before Biden left office, he did everything. I wouldn't say Biden. I never trust Biden's calling the shots here. That's my opinion. I can't prove that, but like I said, it's my opinion. And he did everything in his power to just set everything back for Trump. Everything. These people here are what we see here. That's why a lot of Democrats, change sides, because these people they're not about ruling the country. I mean, they're not about administrating the country. They're about ruling the country, no matter
Mm.
what. Through oppression or through censorship or something. And that's what I see. I hope Trump. I'm pretty sure Trump's going to reverse the whole thing, because he has a very good team here now, and a lot of people are backing him up. The military is backing him up. CEO of big companies. You saw them there. I don't know if
Yeah.
you following, like BlackRock was there. People that we don't know. They usually are our enemies, but they're there. So hopefully they're gonna change their mind, with Trump. Because what I say is, like, Trump is against something so big and so dark that I don't know if a man can do that, but if there's a man that can do that's gonna be him. The guy is, when Trump came for running for office first time, I wasn't a big fan of Trump, because we didn't know him about his policies and stuff. But of course, I was like, anything against Hillary is better. But it was not a big Trump fan. I always joke, says, if one day I meet Trump, I'm gonna ask him, say, I'm so sorry, sir, because I doubted you, and I did. And so, but now, like, which is good that people like me, I was never a Democrat. I'm talking even as a Republican. We had this thing. Like a lot of people in Brazil, for instance, doubted Bolsonaro, even though they're conservatives. But he proved himself, and this is a good thing. And a lot of Democrats are seeing it. And so now, they I think what these people fear the most, Victor, is the people waking up, and Trump did that. So even though they hold a lot of power, for instance, Metaverse or Amazon or BlackRock, whatever, they're gonna have to answer to us. There's 8 billion people in the world, and we're fed up with this thing. Most of people are. So I don't think we're gonna stop everything, but we're gonna delay enough so we can have enough fighting chance. That's what I think. That's my optimism there.
Yeah. I have the impression that most of the enemies, there won't be that much of enemies in with Trump 2.0. I think they will surrender, and they will try to be on his team and as much as they can. Of course, it's all a farce. They are just
Yeah.
pretending because it's better for themselves. Because these people that I was telling, like the other day, with our Brazilian, let's call it comrades, that these people, they don't have opinion, they don't have spine. If now the trend is Trump, let it be. If 4 years ago the trend is wearing a mask,
Oh
then
yeah.
let's all wear a mask. So that's all they do. It's very hard to rely on them. But I think, I don't know if you agree or not, it's still better to have them on our side.
Of course. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Trump is doing that. Trump is doing. I always cite The Art of War. It's a book that I have on, and I always read a part of it almost every day. And I believe Trump is playing that pretty well. He's he's doing a lot of stuff that he can actually see someone, him or someone is actually advising him like that. And Trump comes off. It's like, I'm gonna explain that to you. It's like you've been in a fight before, and as a teenager, I've been in a lot of fights. But next fight you're gonna be ready for it. You're gonna be sort of rested. Oh, I made this mistake. I made that one. And you can actually see a lot of people are actually posting Trump's, like, you see this picture here. This
Yeah.
one. Now this is Trump's face. Now it's like, okay, bring it. I've been punched before. And you knocked me down. I'm up. Let's do it again. And this is our hope. That's why I like it. And another thing that I found that was beautiful of Trump, like all the stuff he signed yesterday, all the executive orders, and he pardoned all the political prisoners. We call them here the January 6th, J6 prisoners that released most of them now. And that's the thing. He brought that over to a stadium. There was like 20,000 people there, and there's probably, I don't know how many people outside. I couldn't even get near that place. The whole block, like the line was going like 4 times on the block, and it signs that in front of everybody. That never happened. I never seen any president or anyone doing that in front of a crowd. He signed all these documents and showing everybody. Said, "I promise this. I'm starting to deliver right now." He closed the border, and the very day the border was closed, and all the stuff he's doing it, and whatever you like it or not, he's delivering it. So that's the man.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things he signed yesterday was to go back to 2 genders. And that was all over the news here in Europe. I don't know if you recall, but I'm based in Ireland. So the RT, which is the national TV here, even tweeted that as was something extraordinary. Like, we are back to 2 genders. And there were some right-wing politicians. It's like an anecdote. And there was right-wing politicians creating polls on Twitter saying, "Are you agreeing with that or not?" And my answer is, there's nothing to agree with. It's just the way it is.
Exactly. So we're going back to 2 genders. And I was like, okay, let me refresh this thing here. So the way you're saying, you advance creating in the United States, I believe we had 70 something genders. In Brazil, it's like 26, and there was 20 something. And I was like, what? These people are delusional. I don't, like I said, excuse me, I don't care, gay, straight, whatever your fantasies are, whatever you want to be, a broccoli, I don't care, man. But you don't force like this 8% of the population wants to dictate which bathroom you go. They want to compete in women's sport and all that stuff, that and it's going to create a lot of division, a lot of friction. People are not going to accept that because it's not natural. And we see throughout history that any time someone tries to put to push something that's not natural to the human being, the way we accustomed, the way we survive, the way we adapt, to be as a civilization, that we're gonna push back at some point. You see throughout history that happens, and we're beginning that. So when Trump comes to office and he says, "Well, a new era starts today," I was like, "Yes, it does." It's going to be a lot of conflicts. I mean, not wars, man. I'm talking about conflicts of opinions, and maybe a war or two there. People are going to be upset with us, but these people pushed us far enough. It's time that we push back. That's my belief. I'm talking, and then again, I'm going to be very. I have to, today. It's weird because we have to explain everything so people misunderstand. I'm not against anything, man. You gay, straight, I don't care. I don't care if you left. I don't care whatever you believe in the flat Earth. I don't care. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it. That's why we have the First Amendment here in the United States. You can say whatever you want. If you say something stupid, you're gonna have to answer for it. But regardless, you have you can say it. But when I say push back, is because common sense is gonna push back. This is not common sense. It's absurd. And so that's what I think. We're starting that now.
Yeah, 100%. It's unavoidable. I mean, as you said, it's the nature. So there's nothing we can do to be anything different. Like, we can try, we can pretend, we can perform, but most of us are very bad actors. So at some point, the mask will fall off. There's a guy on the internet called Chris Williamson. He's British, but he lives in the States, and he claims that is very good. I don't know if you know him or not. If you don't, I really recommend you. And he says that we are already past peak woke. So we were like extremely woke for some time, but now that the thing some way or another is falling apart, Do you share that perspective, or is still there is still a long way?
Not only share. I have been saying that all along. Since these people, when humanity is always like that. You start with a new idea, and you have enough money to promote that thing, whatever, like a fashion. People are gonna buy it because it's different, and people like try things different. And so, but then you're gonna start. There's not much you can add to it that's not already there, and there's a lot of stuff that is showing that doesn't work. And the left, especially the woke movement, I don't think they can add anything else that's going to change their mind, the people's mind now, because, like I said again, always comes down to math. It did not work. All big companies, big taxi, and all the trademarks and stuff, they're pulling off of it. They're just saying, "No, this is not working." You see, BlackRock, you see Bank of
Yeah.
America, you see Ford, you see, these people, they actually back them up, which was just pretty, pretty bad. But it comes down to it. They have to answer to math, and their investors are not happy about this thing because they don't like it. You see Disney, for instance, see the amount of money Disney lost last year. If you don't do research, it was absurd amount of money because they're trying to push this agenda. People just people are not going to Disney anymore, and so they losing a lot of money. And at some point, someone's going to come to listen. We're part of this thing. Well, what are you doing? And I don't know in Europe, but in the United States, there's laws against it. And if a CEO takes a decision, and he knows that's going to affect the investors, his sponsor is going to answer for that. So there's laws here that here and everywhere. I guess I'm saying here because I don't know about the laws in Europe, but and it comes down to people. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to be responsible for this. I don't want to get sued. And so we're gonna do what we have to do. This is done, man. It didn't work, so I'm sorry about that. We're sympathetic with you. Call us later. Yeah, I'll see you. I'll call you back and stuff. That's that kind of thing. And a lot of people are crying, and I feel bad, Victor, because I see a lot of young people. They were deceived by this, and they just go there and just pull the rug under them. They didn't know where to go. They destroy like a generation with this
Yeah.
BS. And now these people, they have no guidance anymore. Some of them are going to wake up. There's a lot of smart people out there. There's people say, "Oh, we lost the generation." No, there's a lot of people, smart people out there. And I always say it's good to get someone from the other side to come to our side. As you can see, Trump was a Republican, Musk was a Republican, JFK, I'm sorry, Democrat. So they
Yeah.
Republicans now, or at least on our side, because they saw the what happened. And you see a lot of writers. I said that the other day on your podcast. It was like you interview someone and says, you know what? If you see Orwell, for instance, Orwell, he was a communist. He fought in Spain, with the Communist Party. And one day, he started to see what was going on. He left, and someone just brought news from Russia and from China about what was going on. And he studied. He was a smart man, and he wrote 1984, and all the books he wrote about what the consequences of foreign communism. And it's good. We all make mistakes, but if you do realize that you did, comes back and help the other part, which is very important. I always like, I make a mistake, I'm sorry, what can I do? I made a mistake. But you realize that. But some people don't. You're going to see a lot of people trying to keep pushing this thing until
Yeah.
they realize they can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I don't know with whom I was having this conversation, but it just came to my mind now. I met, and we all met, quite a lot of people who shift from the left to the right. I mean, we
Hmm.
could be here for the rest of the interview, just
Oh yeah.
going through all of them. But I don't know any, and maybe just me, who did the other way around.
No,
And that
there's
that is
a
telling, no?
no, it's weird. It's like when you're young, for instance. I forgot the name of the guy that said that in Brazil. So like, if you're a communist, it was Olavo de Carvalho. I think Carvalho was he's
Yeah.
for people that don't know him, he's a great guy, and he was living here in DC actually. He passed 2 years ago. And he said, it's romantic. You go there, you see the ideas, you're young, it's like, I want to fight, I want to do this, and I'm gonna. It was like, but it doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't work like that. You cannot, like California, for instance, is a great example. The green. We're gonna stop the water from reaching south, coming from north, abundant water, because we're gonna save this river that has some kind of a fish that's in danger, which was not even the case. So just to give you this comparison, and people, when you're young, you follow that thing until your house is burning, you lose your family, and you lose everything that you have. It's like, well, maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe there's something between we can, that's the way I see it. And they're gonna people that are smart, they're gonna survive this new world now. They're gonna realize this sooner the better. But I see some people. I what we're gonna see, Victor, I believe we see. I used to have a customer. He was a hippie. The old days, 70s.
Yeah.
It's in his late 80s now, and his car is all full of those things, the peace and all that stuff, John Lennon stuff, and all those things. And he's a great guy, funny guy, and everything. But he voted for Obama because back I haven't seen him in a while, but I remember back then, and I talked to him. He was very, very respectful. And he says, "Well, man, this is my legacy. This is my age, and it's pretty hard to come off this thing because I grew up in peace. I went to Woodstock and all that stuff. And then we're gonna see a lot of old people in the future that were like the woke movement. They're gonna see a lot of that, but they're gonna be meaningless because
Yeah.
come down to it, it didn't work the way they want. Nothing against
Yeah.
hippies, guys. I'm just saying, I'm just giving my opinion here. You know,
Where about in the US are you based?
Northeast US. I'm in Connecticut, by New York on the coast,
Mm.
East Coast. Yeah, very
And
cold here today. It's probably in Celsius minus 10, 12.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. That's a different context. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what are the main difference between where you are in the US and in Brazil? Well, the weather is for sure one of them, but there might be more.
From where I am here compared to Brazil,
Yeah. Yeah. Like in terms of differences, lifestyle. What did you encounter?
oh no, it's very different. For instance, I left Brazil. I'm 56 years old. I left Brazil. I was
You
19.
look younger.
I'm
Yeah.
50. I'll think about. I'm 56. But I left Brazil. I was 19. I was fresh out of the army. My dad had to sign my passport, my papers, so I could go to Canada. My cousin and my uncle, they were there, so I was there. I went there I was going to go to college, and I went there just to learn English, and stayed there for a year or so. Ended up staying there for 7 years, almost 7 years. And even back then, I saw many differences. I remember going back to Brazil. I was like, man, these people that live on another planet. It's not even we can even compare. It's just crazy. You're gonna see Muslims. You're gonna see Jewish. You're gonna see everybody. They're in the same market. They don't fight. You're gonna see black, white, Chinese. White. Brazil, we didn't have any kind of. It wasn't. We didn't have that division back then. But I was like, this is beautiful. Everything is very clean. People are very responsible. And in Brazil, of course, we have a lot of problems on that. If you go more towards south in Brazil, it's different. From north Brazil, it's huge. There's a lot of contrast. It's pretty hard just to pinpoint one place. I'm from a state called Minas, and it's very agricultural. And it would be something like Texas, for instance.
Yeah.
Minas, Goiás, just like that. We have a lot of farms, and I grew up around horses and stuff. Very traditional people, but the differences are enormous. Like in here in where I live in Connecticut, for instance, the state is blue, which means it's Democrat. And but it's weird because the people here, they're very conservative, but they at the same time they're liberal, and the way they vote, but the way they live is totally different. You follow me? And Minas, my state, for instance, I adapt very well here because Minas is the same thing. People in Minas, they're quiet, and it takes some time for them to trust you. Here, the same thing, but they're great people. So if I compare Minas to my states like that, if I compare it in general, there's man, it's very hard, very different. Brazilian people are very warm. We play a lot and stuff. You're in Ireland, right? So Ireland's the same
Yeah.
thing. I worked with a lot of Irish people, like to drink and party and all that stuff. And here in the US, not that the people here don't do it. It's just because they take their time until they know you. And when they do, they're great neighbors. They're great people. They just don't come to your house like they Brazilian people. They come to my house and all of a sudden they knock on my door. They're here. Here's
Yeah.
different. They call you. Also, can I see you next week? Do you have plans? Can we set up an appointment? It's just like that. And politically, I think here the people here are waking up to the same as in Brazil. My state, this year we had 46% vote Republicans against 54 Democrats here. So we almost flipped this thing. I believe next election might get even closer. In Brazil, what happened in Brazil? Most of the people there, they're on the right side. We have about, I'm saying, 20% to 30 at the most. They vote left, but the results in the election is different because we don't have an election. We don't have a system of election. We can talk that later, but that's the main difference.
So you seem to be very well integrated in the US. That's my impression. You seem to connect a lot with the country. You seem to have embraced the American spirit. Is it something that you fancy when you're in Brazil, or you just encounter and took it in when you moved there?
This is a fun story. I remember my dad telling me, because when I was very young, I always wear cowboy hats. I always had horses and stuff. And so in my mind, I was like, I want to be an American. This is the weirdest thing. This is a story, because my dad was, so you're in America. It's just, you were born in America, South America, but you're in America. It's like, no, Dad, one day I want to go to the United States. And I ended up going to Canada first, and then I came here. It was weird, because the first time I tasted the apple pie here, it was as if I was coming home. It was just weird. I was like, my God, I tasted this thing before. I'm not religious, but I believe in stuff like that. And I was like, when I went to Gettysburg, when they had the Civil War battles, the big ones, I was there 3 times, and I I went to the fields, and I had that sense of I don't know. I was like, as if I was there before. I belong to this place. And so I did. I always studied the American culture and stuff, which I believe it's that's the place I adapted very well. I don't know. I just love this place. I don't imagine myself living anywhere else.
That's great. That's great. I think there's nothing better than being in the place that we want, because most
Yeah.
people, they go here and there, they experience. I did that myself. I mean, I don't blame those who are in that journey. Maybe that's part of their development. But I think it's such a blessing to just look around and say to to ourselves, that's the place. I don't need to find any other corner. I'm in the right one. It's such a blessing. Do you think so? The US is really the land of the free, where the opportunity is for those who want to explore and develop themselves? So is it not just reputation? It's really something tangible.
You're talking about here in U.S.?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Americans. I'm gonna tell something. People ask me this kind of question very often. It's like, oh, when I was growing up in Brazil, there's a lot of people in Brazil and Europe, for instance, when they see what Americans do, they're like, oh, these people just like kids with a lot of money. I hear that a lot. They like to play. They have like big places. I met some people there, Brazilians. They've been living in England for like, I don't know, 30 years. They came to Disney. It's like, oh my God, this is so big. Everything here is so big, and it's big cars. We order for food. There's so much food, and there's plenty for everything, and they like it, which it is. And so it's big. United States just Brazil is big too, but United States is just big. A lot of opportunities. If you want to come here, if you're lucky enough to to get here and to work. We work a lot here, a lot, and but you can develop on anything you want. You can come with a good idea. People are going to embrace you. American people, what they want, I'll tell you right now, it's pretty easy to understand American culture. They want to work. They want to. They don't want it. They don't want it handouts. Most of the people here, the woke movement tried to bring that sense to America. Didn't work, because what we want is to be left alone. Give us like half a chance. We don't need a chance in the United States. We need half a chance. And we're going to build something. We're going to build our lives here. And the government stay out of our backs, and we have our freedoms. We have our guns. We have our First Amendment. And we have that. That's what we do. And stay away from us. In the United States, we say too, like, you follow a leader. You either a leader. You follow a leader or get out of the way. Leave us alone. I like, they don't want to bother anyone. They just want to be. They want to make their money and go to have a beer and go somewhere and have fun. That's all. The American people, they don't want to be fighting anywhere. We're actually, they ask for help all the time, to help on this conflict or that one or whatever, for whatever reasons. And the United States go there, help them, come back home, and people still complain about that. And they built this thing. Oh, they want to build an empire. Of course, they're going to look for the interests first. Now that's how a country develops. That's how Brazil should look to their interests first. And for the past administrations, that wasn't happening here. They were just getting the money from taxpayers and sending all over the planet. That's why American people are just so pissed. And all these wars that people see nowadays, they say, "Oh, Americans started this." Is not America. It's the past administrations. American people don't want any of these wars. We don't want to send our kids anywhere. I have a daughter, and if there's a draft, she'll be drafted. But I guess, but we don't want that. We just want to be left alone. That's all, basically. But there's one thing: do not mess with our liberties here in the United States. Do not think that Americans are going to bend over. They're not. There's a reason why there's like 80, almost 90 million people well armed here in the United States. This is how the only reason, I think, my opinion, West civilization is still up is because there's 90 million people well armed in the United States. There's nothing, because otherwise some kind of government would have taken over the same way they did in Brazil, they didn't work, the same people. We don't. I think the founding fathers just said, you're gonna have the First Amendment. You can say, do whatever you want. Make sure you get a gun. Someone's gonna take that from you. And so it's not that we want a gun, just be shooting everything. It's just because that's the way you keep your freedoms. That's how, basically, how the American people are in general.
It's good that you mentioned the topic of wars because I really want to cover that one. So, what do you expect from Trump when it comes to the two main conflicts, the one in Israel or between Israel and Gaza, and the one between Russia and Ukraine?
I think that's going to go away, especially Ukraine. Even before Ukraine is more sensitive, of course, but Zelensky, I don't like the guy. I don't like Zelensky at all. I'm not saying Putin's a good guy. No, I just say what I'm saying. Like, that war should have never happened. The way they pushed him to that, and they gave him a very good excuse to invade. So that didn't work the way politicians thought was going to. You remember that there was a big propaganda before, when the war started, to take Putin from the government. It didn't work because people like him there. And Zelensky, I don't like Zelensky at all. This is my opinion. I just don't like the guy. I think I like Ukrainian people. We have Ukrainian neighbors, and Russian. I think the woman's Ukrainian, and the husband's Russian. I don't know the difference when they speak, but and they like Putin. And I talked to them a few years ago when this thing started. They say, no, Zelensky's been, and we don't like him for reason we can discuss later. In I believe what happened between the Jewish and it's not the Jewish and Palestinians, then the Hamas and all those terrorists that are attacking, and they're looking for it. I don't know how that thing started. I it's I don't know. I'm gonna say that to you. I'm not a big fan to Netanyahu. I'm not saying that guy is the savior of the Jewish people per se. I have this thing, you know, that I was like, I don't know. It's an instinct. You have this thing in the back. It's like, you want to don't trust someone. But what he did, the response, the way he did, that's why you have to respond. So you've been attacked for some reason, and we're going to respond to that. And people think that someone's going to throw a bomb in any country, and the country's not going to react. It's stupid. So they were provoking for that to build up this propaganda that, and the Palestinian people, the stuff. Why Israel has what 1% of the territory in the entire Middle East? How come the other countries are not accepting Palestinian refugees? How come they don't have these people with money?
Yeah.
How come? So you throw everything on Israeli people. This is weird. But I think Trump, because there's a lot of Jewish here in the United States, of course, and he's going to wrap this thing up because we don't want it. The only thing that I think now about Trump is for instance, Iran. Those people, they're going to stop what they're doing. And Trump is very, he always talked about this. You're going to stop, or we're going to stop you, from whatever you're doing. And it looks like they did, because they you see responses from Iranians. They actually starting a movement there against all this oppression. Because if some people, young people, you don't know, some people watching here or with us, if you do a little research, you see Iran, for instance, in the 70s, early 80s. Man, they were just like here. There was a lot of women with bikinis on the beaches there. It was beautiful. There were resorts and stuff. And then they installed this government there, and all this idea, and they destroyed the country. And people are going to the same thing. They're going to push back, and I think this is going to go away. It's going to be hard. But Trump said on his speech yesterday, he says, "I want to be a guy that's going to bring peace. We don't want any wars." But like I said, do not mistake that with weakness. That's a big mistake. People that think that United States it was weak, like with Biden, do not make that mistake now. That's my feeling. Don't do it. I saw all the pride on all on the National Guard and all the people down in Washington yesterday, and though the army, they love Trump. Trump, they love Trump, and I don't know. That guy is he puts his money where his mouth is so far, and they love him. So he's going to rebuild our military, and he's going to rebuild everything he has to keep order. Because the only reason why the war is the way it is now, because they've been weakening the United States for so long, and people criticize the United States. Remember, in your country, there's police, right? Someone's going to have to put things in order. That's what the United States has been doing for so long, and we're paying for that. Because I pay taxes, we're paying for that. And although we do, people still, I tell people in Brazil, I've been to some podcasts, and I've been to Congress and stuff, and people says, well, people from the left, well, United States, they always put their nose where they do. I was like, listen, what they're doing. Imagine if China or Russia, if they were in charge of everything, where would you be? Do you think you'd be here talking to me? Do you think
Yeah.
there's, that's my opinion. But some people are against it. Some people saying that I'm wrong, but
No, I actually,
that's what I see.
yeah, I actually agree with you. I had this conversation quite some time with different people in various environments. Like, we need a country that is country number one. That there's no way around. It's the same. Let's say we sit at a table. Like I say, the two of us plus three lads, and we have a few drinks. There will be someone who kind of dominates the situation. Doesn't mean that he is oppressing, but someone
Mhm.
is in charge. It's just the social dynamics, and it's the same between countries. So, like it or not, we need to pick one. Okay, so
Mhm.
the options are on the table. As you said, it's either the U.S., Russia, China, or maybe an Arab country, say Saudi Arabia. So I think there's not much room for a choice. America
No.
is for sure the best deal. As you said, if it would be a Chinese setup, we couldn't have this conversation. If to be a
No.
Russian, we could, with a lot of restrictions.
Mhm.
If to be Arabic, well, I'm not going to say anything, because it's obvious that there is a lot of things that are forbidden. We probably need to do these things at the time that there are no prayers. We have to somehow be on our knees to them. That's how they act. So, with all the faults and flaws, the American lifestyle is still the most convenient.
It's the thing. A lot of people think there's a middle ground.
Hmm.
So, oh, I like United States, but there's you guessed that you have on the last podcast of yours. I forgot his name. Very well-educated guy. And but like I said, I was actually typing here. I was like, I disagree with this and that, because he wanted to be like a middle ground. He was born here in California or something, and he went back and
Yeah.
went to Europe. And I understand he found his place there the same way I found my place here. So we have different opinions and stuff. But and you guys are way more educated than I am. But I'll tell you what, you would not be reading your books if people like me, or people that work, and people that are centered on the day-to-day basis. For instance, that's I'm not saying that I'm any kind of hero. That I'm saying, because I'm a common guy and I work every day, and I have to somehow be here and be fighting for my rights and saying something, because I live that by experience. I work construction, and I pay my taxes. I do everything that I can to be afloat, and the government is taking part of everything. And I'll tell you what, if and the common soldier, for instance, that goes and battles to wars and stuff, and there's no peace. There's gonna be in the future. I think the human being's gonna develop some kind of a sense one day. Says, "Oh, this is ridiculous. We have to stop fighting." But nowadays, this is a very dangerous world, and if you don't have the soldier there to fight for your right to be reading Spinoza or to be reading, Plato or whatever, and come here and bring some knowledge to us, if the people are not backing you up, believe me, they don't want you to have that knowledge. They're going to take that from you. You're not going to be talking about those books. So I put the foot soldier and the people that are fighting for our liberties way before that, because especially our soldiers, are people that defend not only ours, soldiers from all over that are defending liberties, are defending what is right. I have lots of respect for these people, because of them I am sleeping here, and we're able to have this conversation today.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people with the boots on the ground are as important as the academics. But talking of the academics, I just spotted a picture of yours with Jordan Peterson. I was very, very jealous, I have to say.
Oh
Very
my
jealous.
God, that was the weirdest thing. I went. There was like two main entrances for Capitol. The left side. When I went to Capitol Hill a long time ago, I went inside the Congress. I went there with a friend of mine in 2012, and this is one thing I have to thank Biden. I have to tell this little story, because a friend of mine, unfortunately, he lost his son on one of the shootings here in Sandy Hook, which is it's just like 10 miles from here. It's pretty close. And so he didn't have any family. He didn't want to go back home because his son was killed and stuff. So he stayed with me here for like 5 months in my house because he didn't want to go. I met him. I knew him from a long time. So he was invited to go to Washington. So I went there. I met Obama. I met Michelle Obama and stuff. I brought my daughter. And then they invited us to come to see, Congress. It's like, okay. And it was going to be a private thing. So I got there in the morning, and the Joe Biden secretary, personal secretary, was there to meet us, and she took us inside everywhere. I have pictures sitting on the House speaker. I have, people are not allowed to go down to that floor, but she brought us all over. In fact, she brought us to the vice president room. And they opened there's a desk. She's like, open that desk. I opened the desk, and there's a JFK signature there, Nixon. It's tradition to sign this one drawer, and she was like, go under and see. There's the hole where they actually put the tapes, for the Watergate scandal, all that stuff. I saw all that stuff, and that was beautiful. She brought those all over the place. So I have to thank Biden for that one there. That was nice.
At least I have
And
one reason to thank Biden.
I do. So on the same gate that we entered the Capitol this day, I was coming off because I had to go around. There was fences all over. I was going to my car. And all of a sudden, like, oh my God, Jordan Peterson, because he wears all that colorful
Yeah,
coat and
yeah.
stuff. Oh, like, Jesus. And I was like, I went there. There's a lot of security around here. So, Mr. Peterson, my name is Roberto Medeiros, and I'm from Brazil. It's like, oh, you're from Brazil. So it's a great honor. So can I take a picture with you? It's like, of course. He came, and I took a few pictures with him. Very nice. I was like, Mr. Peterson, I'm going to ask you something weird. It's like, well, I have a podcast online. Can I actually interview you there? I was like, well, listen, I don't have control of that, but your best bet, I'm going to give you my secretary
I was
email.
expecting you to bring Peterson to this podcast. Where is he?
Yeah, he won't remember me, but he says, well, send an email to this person here. He gave me this person's email. It's not the general email. So I got it. So I'm going to see if he's going to answer or not. Maybe he will, maybe not. Great guy, very nice guy. Is taller than I am. I'm 178. He's probably 185 or something. Skinny guy, very skinny guy. Very nice. And I spoke with him for like 5 minutes or so, maybe not even, because there's a lot of people around him, and the White House security was there with him. So one guy came, so I'm so sorry, gotta go with the raids and stuff, because they brought him over to the next. You couldn't get there with the car, so they brought him over to the limo. But it was the greatest thing, man. I was like, I could not believe. I all of a sudden he was in front of me, and I jumped at it. I was like, I gotta go there.
So it seems that he is very approachable, even though
Oh
he's,
yeah.
he's every time he's out, there's always someone wants to talk to him. Like many people in his shoes, at this point of time they'll be tired. But it seems that he managed
No,
people pretty well.
no. Before I went there, there's a couple of young people and a kid. I was like, yeah, come here and stuff. And the security, they had a time frame, I believe, to bring him over to this limo, and because they closed the road just to get him there. And the guy was like, let's go. And was no, and he took pictures of everybody. He took like 2 or 3 minutes to talk to me, although the security was trying to push him out. And he says, well, write this email that I'm going to give you. So I taped it actually. I was like, okay, so I'm going to try. But he's very, very nice. I walked behind him for like a block. And there's a lot of people come and say hello. He was all hi and stuff. He was very nice. He had a couple of people with him. I believe it was his daughter. I could be wrong. I don't know his daughter very well. But I'll tell you, very, very nice guy, you know.
Yeah, that's one of those things like you will never forget. I saw him live in one of his shows here in Dublin.
Mhm.
So I went to a lecture in a huge venue. Actually, it's a venue as big as um, for the big rock bands like Simple Minds
Mhm.
and others. They played there. So there'll be maybe, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people, if not more. It was amazing. And one of the things that I will never forget was is his voice. Like, he was so real. You could see that he was 100% there. He was not like uh, doing as a favor. He was not just performing a role. No, he was putting himself there in front of us and trying to be as transparent as you can in front of 10,000 people. And his voice sounded so near. I don't know. It's beyond everything I can describe. I never felt when I listened to a lecture that the person was so dedicated like he was.
He's very passionate about this stuff. You know, what he said is right, because he could have easily just told me, you know, like, no, I'm sorry. You gotta send me an email and whatever. No, it's like, write this down. Write this down. This is write this down. He was doing like, write this down with his hand. Write this down. Just write this down. He repeated 3 times to me. Write this down. I was like, okay, so try that and see what we can do. He could have said, I'm sorry, I'm booked and whatever, because that happened to me a lot. You probably with you too. You try to bring someone to your show and or to your podcast, whatever, and people say, yeah, call my. No. I have a lot of people that have their phones, their numbers or whatever, and I call them directly. But some of them, especially politicians, oh, you gotta call my. You gotta call my assistant, you gotta call my secretary and stuff. And I know a lot of them too. And they kind of push you to the side and whatever, always busy for this and that. But Peterson, I'll tell you, he was very, very nice, very polite. He speaks, he's very calm to speak.
Hmm.
In the same way you see him, he projects himself outward, but in a very calm way. You know, he's a guy. I like to pick that guy's brain for like 5 minutes. You know, it's just it's amazing. I've been following that guy for so long. You know, he's from Canada and a fellow Canadian because I live in Canada too. So, and people that don't know what happened to him in Canada and why he started that way, it's just amazing. It's the way he's fighting. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say he pays a lot of attention to people. So when you were talking to him, I'm nearly sure that he was genuinely interested in your words.
He
Did
was looking
you?
right in my eye. He was
Yeah,
looking at me because he's a little taller. He was looking. Yeah, it's like, well, right. It's like, I'm sorry, but you got to write this down. This is my secretary. Write this down. I was like, okay, and I did. And it's like, this is your best bet because I don't have no control of that, so you have to do this, and we'll see what we can do. And and I said, oh, I'm from Brazil, and my podcast about all the censorship and stuff. Brazil was like, oh yeah, I know. Oh my God, Brazil, I know. And he answered. He's aware of that, because I believe he interviewed
Eduardo
Eduardo Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro.
Yeah, so he
Yeah, he
knows.
did. Yeah,
But
yeah, he
he
did.
was he was right there, man. He was, I thought,
And the other
it's
guy
like
who is also in the exile, not Pedro, I can't remember now his name. It's not Alan Duchamp, but it's almost as almost as relevant as
Figueiredo.
Paul Figueiredo, I think.
Yeah,
I
Paul
think Paul
Figueiredo.
Figueiredo was also there. Yeah.
I didn't know. I saw that he was with him, but I haven't talked to Paul in a long time. I saw Paul. I talked to him this year on the phone. No, last year, but briefly. Exchanged some messages. But I saw him. We stayed at the same hotel 2 years ago for a congress we had here in Boston. And it's a good guy, great guy, very, very smart guy. I never been to Orlando Santos with Orlando Santos, but all those guys, you agree or disagree with them, they are doing a good a good thing, not only from Brazil, but to bring awareness to censorship on
Yeah.
on what happened to them. So you got to give those guys a lot of credit. Yeah.
So I hope you still have the paper. I hope you didn't put it in the washing machine. Huh?
No, actually, that's why I saved on my phone, because otherwise I'm gonna lose. I'll lose
Yeah,
everything.
because these days we're not used to pen and paper anymore. Everything is on the
I was
phone.
like,
So,
oh my god! I was like, no, I gotta. So I got my notes like, I know this is the email. So hope I didn't screw this up. But I'm gonna try. It
so
was
the other
weird.
famous people, famous person you took a photo with, or maybe it was a video. I can't remember. Or he's not as known as Jordan Peterson, and that's almost impossible. He's more of a famous figure in Portugal. Is André Ventura. So what was your impression of him?
André Ventura is one of the guys that I'll tell you, you're gonna sit with that guy. You're gonna have a beer with him. He's such a nice guy. I left. I was buying some stuff for my wife. She wants me to buy like a hat and stuff, or like, so I was buying. So I was coming back from the stand where they're selling, and I was going towards, back towards my truck, and I saw this guy come. I dropped my bag, and I picked it up. I looked up. He was walking towards me. I was like, I think that guy's Ventura. I wasn't sure actually. It was cold as hell. And I was like, Ventura is like, hey, pa, hey, pa, Portuguese. Like, hey, como está? He came over and talks like, hey, in Brazil, oh, yeah. And so he was talking like, oh, man, it's good. It's great to be here with you and stuff. What you doing? It's like, yeah. And he's very respectful. Hey, can we record a video here about Brazil? It's like, oh, yeah, man, Brazil is ridiculous what Lula's doing. So he was talking to me. He said, yeah, yeah, of course. So it's very, that guy out there, and I was like, well, do you mind if we can have a live interview on this day? It's like, yeah. I was like, can you give me your secretary numbers? No, man. It was like, WhatsApp. He gave me his WhatsApp number and everything right there. So they call me, and we can set this up and stuff. And yeah, I'm very happy. I don't know if you saw the video. I believe I
Yeah,
sent it to you, and
yeah.
very nice.
So
And we that video was like couple of minutes maybe, but we talked for like probably 5-10 minutes. We are just there sitting talking. He says, well, I gotta go because I'm gonna meet Eduardo Bolsonaro now at the hotel. I was like, oh, that's good. And he left, but I'll tell, very, very nice. So we talked about in the way Portugal's recovering from this left agenda and stuff. And he says, I asked him, as you saw, I asked him a lot before that video, but I was like, well, we're very concerned about that. What do you think? He says, well, I think Portugal has a fighting chance on this thing, and we're trying to flip this over. It's going to be a long fight and stuff. But he's very, very positive about the way Portugal is going to recover. They're not coming from this center left to the right again. So I like him. It's weird because I've been trying to get in contact with him for so long. And I bumped into the guy. I was not excited. I was like, can you give me your number? He said, yeah, this is my one number, my personal number. Call me. I was like, oh my God. It was great.
yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he has the reputation of being good fun, So
He
I'm
is.
not surprised. Yeah. My main issue with him, I don't know if he's listening to this or not, that he supports Benfica, which is a
Oh yeah.
football nation. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I'm a Porto supporter. So it's like, let's say you support Palmeiras and he supports, I don't know, Flamengo. So
I,
it's
I,
hard to
I,
build a friendship like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't like soccer at all. It's weird because everybody says, "Oh, you're Brazilian soccer." I was like, man, I don't
Yeah,
watch soccer. I never played soccer in my life. In Minas, my state, we have Atlético and Cruzeiro. Two
yeah,
main
yeah.
teams. So in Minas, you ask the guy if you root for Atlético Cruzeiro. I'm from Cruzeiro because my dad was, but I root for them. But I was never built into it. So on that regard, we're not gonna have any fights about it. But which is good actually. When you have I have lots of friends in Brazil. When I interviewed him, I was like, oh, from Minas, for instance, you Atlético? Because I'm Atlético. I was like, yeah, man, you guys was, my brother, for instance, he is, he goes for another team, and it's fun. But I'll tell you what, I don't think I have any problems with Tavares, because he is with André. Because I'm sorry, André, because he is Ventura, because he's a great guy. He's down there, a great guy. He's gonna talk to you as if you were talking on a bar or something.
Great, great. I think that's what I'm used to here in
Yeah.
Irish pubs, and that will lead to my next question. So you haven't had a beer with Ventura, but I know you are a big Guinness fan. So
Oh
what
yeah.
was the booze? What was the booze yesterday?
I tell you what, yesterday was so. You talk about it. We didn't have a chance to go anywhere yesterday. It took us just to get there. It took us 5 hours just to
Hmm.
keep going around. kept the army kept sending you somewhere. They kept closing place, so I did. But I was in, a friend of mine went to a restaurant in Baltimore where all the Brazilian people were gonna be, and all the politicians were gonna be there. They came from Brazil. I didn't have a chance to go. I was so tired. I was like, I can't stop in Baltimore because if I do, I think they're gonna have something at 8 o'clock. I didn't go, so I was getting home. I was in Connecticut, and a friend of mine works. He worked with politics too. He called and said, "Yeah, we should meet for a beer or something." Man, I'm in Connecticut, and I was shocked. I came home yesterday. I'll tell you. I parked my truck. I took all my clothes and stuff from my car, and took a shower, and I passed out. So I didn't have a chance. But Washington, it's a place. There's a lot of good pubs. You go around, there's a lot of Irish people there. So you're gonna have fun if you go there. Boston too is a good place to go. Oh, New York, man. You gotta come to New York one of these days. I'm gonna bring you some pubs there. Here in Connecticut too. On my town, I have a lot of Irish people here too, so you're gonna like it. And Guinness has been always my favorite. Time I tried Guinness was oh my god, I was in Toronto years ago, 30 some years ago. I went to a club they used to call the Cavern, and for some reason, and so they were having a blues guy in an Irish pub, just playing blues. I was like, oh, I always like blues a lot, so it was my first experience with Guinness, and I got hooked to it, and you know everything is history. I have everything. I have shirts. I have hats. I have you name it. I have my snowboard. It's Guinness. My bar. I have a bar. One day I want to show. I have a pub in my basement. I built a pub. The way you see all this wood here, I built. This is my studio. But I know I'm a carpenter too, so I built everything there. So one day I'll show you. I got a lot of Guinness.
Next time we do a live with a pint of Guinness. With a couple.
Let's do it. It's too early here for now. I'm drinking tea. I'm drinking.
Never too early. It's never too early for Irish. Huh?
I know, but I haven't had breakfast today yet. This is the first thing I'm trying because I'm on a diet. Actually, I'm on a high protein diet. So I have I fast. So I haven't have anything to eat today, and I don't drink unless I only drink after I have a meal. That's the thing. I don't know why I can't hold any liquor if I don't have a meal prior to it. So for me to drink, I would have to have like lunch or something.
Yeah, just to be safe. How much is a pint of Guinness there?
In a bar here?
Yeah.
Depends on a bar and depends on the day of the week. On the weekends, it costs more, probably $3.50, $4.
That's not bad, yeah.
No. And you have the option. For instance, I go to a place here. We have meetings there because I belong to a biker club. I have a Harley, so we go there. And so this place, it's a sports bar. It's also very, very famous here. It's from Boston, but we have one here. You have the options to pay, I believe, $3.50. We meet there on Wednesdays, so it's cheaper. You pay, I believe, $3.25 for a pint, or you pay $4.50 for a big one. It's a glass about this tall, man. It's almost 2 pints, and I like Guinness. Guinness is something I want to go there. I want to go to a friend of mine. She was there with 2 friends. They went there to the brewery, and they called me from there. I was like, guess where I am? I was like, they brought me a shirt and everything. No, I love it. I love Guinness.
Yeah, we need a few to celebrate the return of the big man to the White House. If not, Guinness whiskey.
Oh, I don't drink Irish whiskey. I'll tell you why. Irish whiskey is very Irish whiskey is very it's sweet. It's very similar. I wouldn't say similar to bourbon more than Scotch. The ones I tried, it's not the same thing. It has the sweetness to it, but as if every young person, I made my mistake when I was in Toronto to drink a lot of Irish whiskey. And I had such a bad experience with that, so it kind of traumatized me. I drink it once in a while. I drink Jameson on St. Patrick's Day. It's big here in the U.S. I have St. Patrick's. Last time was we're gonna go to St. Patrick's now again. I like it, but mostly I drink bourbon. I like bourbon a lot, and I have in my bar 40 some bottles of different bourbons. And of course, I love Macallan. I just love Macallan. I have 2. I'm looking, 2 here in front of me. I have an 18 and 21 in front of me here, and I love Macallan. I always did. Glenfiddich too. So I like good Scotch whiskey, but if I have to choose, would be bourbon any day. I like bourbon wine.
Yeah, you have good taste when it comes to alcohol, and also when it comes to politicians. I would say I'm
I
not sure
hope
about
so. I
not sure
hope
about
so.
women, but we can leave it for
I
next
do. I do.
next episode.
I'm married. Deborah, my wife, I believe she's watching. She was going to, and I believe my wife has a very bad taste on men. She married me, but yeah, I was lucky. I think my wife, she does not see right. She, I totally got it. I was lucky. We're not wearing
Maybe there was
glasses. They were
some
mad. That's
whiskey.
why.
Yeah, maybe there was some
Yeah,
whiskey.
yeah, yeah. No, she did. She didn't drink much back then. I believe it's because she could see well. I was lucky. But now I'm fortunate. She's Brazilian, and we met. We met a long time ago. I know her since I was a kid, but I went to Canada and went back to Brazil, and we start going out and stuff, and worked out. We've been together for a long time. Yeah, so I'm fortunate. We started
Good stuff.
going in '97, so it's been a while.
Yeah, good stuff. Look, I have the impression I could be here with you forever, talking, maybe having a few pints, but we'll leave it
Next time, next time.
for part two. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like anytime. And I want to have you on my Instagram too. We're going to talk about that later.
sure.
And let's see about how the interview with Ventura it's going to be. Maybe, you can have him there with your show too. I don't know if you have his
Yeah,
number. We can talk to him and stuff.
no, yeah, we can exchange contact details. Yeah,
Yeah. And maybe I'm telling you, he's going to have fun. He's a nice guy. Very nice guy. And we have to exchange. I got a few people that if you want their numbers too, we can bring over here. There's a lot of people that I believe is gonna contribute to what you're doing. Unfortunately, some of them they don't speak English. And on my channel on Instagram, although we're gonna start another one now, I do it in Portuguese.
yeah,
And we're gonna have our podcast now that I have the studio all together. We're gonna be doing it in English, Portuguese, and Spanish too. We're gonna have times. We're gonna have I'm trying to put a web radio together. I bought all the rights and stuff. We're working on the website and stuff, and it's gonna be 24 hours. And you're gonna be, you invited already. Maybe you can have like a certain time because of the difference. Sometimes it's gonna be actually good. You can
yeah.
actually have your own show on the radio, if you want to. It's gonna be, free. We're developing the app and stuff as soon as is it ready. I didn't know it took so long to develop all this stuff, but we're working on it. Of course, you're going to be on it, and thank you very much for having me here. I'm sorry that I was disagreeing from some stuff that your guests were saying the other day. We're just talking like I don't think that's right, but he's a great guy. Your guest.
But I think what happens with him, and probably happens with me, and probably with yourself. Like we tend to be very critical of our own countries. So
Yeah.
as good as they are, as I think US is a fantastic country. I think Brazil is a beautiful country. I think Portugal is a stunning country. But because we are from there and we don't live there, we can see it from an angle that others cannot, and that's why we sometimes look or come across very very strict. I think that's the reason, and most expats are like that. I think either they are very nostalgic about the country, very homesick, or they are quite critique. And I think Frank falls in that category because I would be the same with Portugal. So I can understand him. Not that I agree with him with everything, but I think it's common from someone who left and now lives elsewhere and found his way. So I think that explains his comments, I think.
And it's been away from the U.S. A long time too. I don't know if it keeps like for instance, Brazil. I've been away from Brazil for a long time, but I know I have a lot of friends there, and I keep an eye on everything that's going because it's part of my interest. It's part of what I do. And people from Brazil, you're right. They say, "Oh, well, you're not here. How come you're criticizing this?" And I was like, you know what? As where I am, it looks like I'm seeing you guys from above, like from a drone or something. I can see what's going on, and you guys are on the ground. Sometimes you miss it, so I try to give you another perspective. That's all.
Yeah, it's good to have some distance to understand things. Like it's what Yoko Willing calls detachment. Because
Yes.
if you are too near the action, yes, you are privileged, but sometimes you don't have the necessary gap to understand what's going on. So you need that space between yourself and what's happening. I think that's just essential. So Yeah, I think that's the reason. We'll explore that next time, man, because it's
Let's do
already
it.
more
Yeah.
than an hour. So
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
look forward for
Sorry, man. I
next
talk
one.
a lot.
Well, I haven't noticed that. No
Thank you
worries,
so
man.
much.
Thank you so much, and talk to you very soon. Have a good one. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye, people.
Take care.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Anytime.